Okay, so this is part 3 of the Automata assembly. So the last little thing we've got to put on here, with the given parts anyway, is getting the foot and the riser rod to ride on the cams. So because I'm going to do 2 of these, I'm going to show you a nice little secret here. So if ever you have smaller assemblies that you're going to be using multiple times, it's a good idea to do what's called a subassembly. So I'm going to show you that trick here. I'm going to go File, New, I'm going to say standard IAM, standard assembly, create, and I'm going to place the riser rod and the foot. I'm going to hold shift and then get over control and click both of those and say open. And drop it in here, right click and say OK, and now I've got a file with just the foot and the riser rod all by themselves. So I'm going to assemble this right here. I'm going to say constrain, mate tool. I'm going to zoom in on this bottom surface, and then I've got to rotate over here so I can see way down inside the foot. There's a little, the bottom of this square hole is right here. Click that and click apply, and then I can do a few different things to get this to centered. I can constrain the planes together, or I can use the edges. So maybe I'll do one of both. So I'll say constrain for this surface, or that plane, to this plane. It goes right through the middle of it. Looks good. Notice it did shift around a little bit, but that's okay. And now I'm going to show you the edge option. So if I click right here on the edge of this hole and then click this surface here, it'll bring it over. I'll click apply and cancel. So now it'll stick together like that, which is perfect. That's what we want to see. Looks kind of like a Harry Potter broom or like a trident thing, fork. So I'm going to hit File and Save, and I'm just going to drop this somewhere safe. I'm going to do it in my downloads, but that's just because I'm going to delete this. I would put it somewhere safer than that if I were you on a school computer. So I'm just going to call this riser foot assembly. So riser foot assembly, and I'll say save. And yes to all sounds good. Okay, so then back here in this one, I can get rid of these parts. I'm not going to need them anymore. So I just highlighted those and click delete. So I'm going to click place, and I've got this riser foot assembly, and I can put a smaller assembly into a large one. So I'll say open, and I'm going to click once, twice, and then I'll right click and say OK. So that's a nice way to get 2 smaller assemblies for the price of 1. So it's rather than assembling all of that twice, I can just do it once and make copies of it. Alright, so I'm going to get this in here and drop it in. So the first thing to do that I think makes this the easiest is to use the planes. I'm going to say constrain. I'm going to try and get this plane right here, this one that goes straight through it on the vertically. I'm going to use the plane that goes right above this cam, either the one that goes through the cam or the one in the hole right above it. So either one will work. Click there. Notice that it's up here. Sometimes it'll come in upside down. If that happens, you can kind of just maybe hit undo and try it again until it works. Maybe try clicking different things and the same planes, but just in the reverse order. Sometimes that changes it. Or just flipping this back and forth. I'll click apply. And then so this is going to stay on that plane, which is good, but it can move forward and backward just to its, willy-nilly. So I'm going to say constrain. I'm going to use this plane right there and constrain it to this larger plane on the box. Oh, notice mine just flipped upside down, so I'm just going to flip that the other way to make it flush instead of mate, and I'll say apply and cancel. So now if I click this, it'll follow within that hole, which is good, and it won't go side to side. Alright, so now the last step is getting this to stick onto that surface. I'm going to go constrain, tangent, and I'm going to click this surface right underneath the cam foot. So this looks kind of like a letter I that's been bent. I'm just trying to change my view here. So go constrain, tangent this surface to that surface, Click Apply, Cancel, and now if I crank that handle, it'll follow it. That's the kind of motion we want to see. That's the good stuff. So, as I mentioned in the first video, however, if we do any other type of cam, it's not going to look this nice. Only the eccentric cam looks this smooth. If I use this one, like the avocado-shaped one, I'm just going to put it in there and show you what happens. It's not what you'd expect. So I'm going to say constrain. I'm going to get this plane here. Strain it onto this plane. Looks good. This plane right. Come on, right there. To this one. Beauty. And then tangent right here. And I'm going to use the rounded surface right below it. Like that. So, looks great. Cancel. Now watch what happens if I crank it. It's not as pretty as we might hope. So if I click here, you'll notice that it's going way too far up. It's not even touching the surface for very long. What's happening there is super weird. It's actually following an arc, just one of the arcs on this avocado shape. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different arcs, and it is possible to get it to follow all of those, but just because it's beyond the scope of this class, we're just going to say that that's good enough. It's going to look weird, but that's okay. So as long as you can get it to crank like this, and it seems to be functioning together, that will count for this assignment. So, and then the last part is putting all of your unique parts on top and connecting them to these axles and these risers and everything, and then you're done. You can just take a screenshot of this and submit it, and that's it for this assignment.